You know that feeling when you catch yourself saying, "I'm too old for this," or "I can't do that anymore." Maybe it's when you're looking at a flight of stairs and suddenly considering taking the elevator instead. Or when you avoid making plans because you're not sure how you'll feel that day. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know something important. What you're experiencing isn't just about aging. It's about habits. And the good news? Habits can be changed. Today, we're going to talk about 3 common things many of us start doing after 60 that quietly chip away at our independence, often without us even realizing it. These aren't dramatic mistakes or dangerous behaviors. They're subtle shifts in how we approach daily life that, over time, can make us more dependent on others than we need to be. The best part? Once you're aware of them, they're surprisingly easy to correct. Let's start with the first habit that's stealing your independence: avoiding physical challenges. Now, I completely understand why we do this. Our joints might ache more than they used to. We might get winded easier. But here's the problem. Every time we choose the elevator over the stairs or ask someone else to lift something for us, we're allowing our muscles to weaken just a little bit more. My friend Martha used to garden every weekend. When her knees started bothering her, she stopped altogether. Within a year, she needed help getting up from her chair. Then her doctor suggested something simple, just 5 minutes of gentle gardening each day. Today, she's back to tending her roses independently. The lesson? Our bodies adapt to what we ask of them. If we keep challenging them gently and sensibly, they'll keep responding. The solution isn't about pushing through pain or risking injury. It's about finding ways to stay active that work for your current ability level. Try this. Next time you're faced with physical challenge, whether it's carrying groceries or walking upstairs, pause and ask yourself, can I do just a little more than I think I can? Maybe that means taking the stairs but using the railing, or carrying 1 bag of groceries instead of 2. These small victories add up to maintain strength and mobility. Now, let's talk about the second independence stealer: isolating yourself. After 60, it's easy to start declining invitations. Maybe you don't hear as well in crowded restaurants, or you worry about being the slowest walker in the group. But human connection is like a muscle too. If we don't use it, we lose it. And I'm not just talking about social skills. Isolation leads to depression, which can lead to neglecting our health and home. My neighbor Bob stopped joining our weekly card games because he thought we'd find his memory lapses frustrating. What he didn't realize was that those games were actually helping keep his mind sharp. When he finally returned after 6 months, we could all see the difference. He was more engaged, more alert, and frankly, happier. The fix here is simpler than you might think. You don't need to become the life of the party. Just commit to 1 social interaction each week. Whether the phone call with an old friend, attending a community event, or even just chatting with your mail carrier. These small connections maintain your social skills, keep your mind active, and most importantly, remind you that you're still very much part of the world. Before we move to the third point, I want to pause and acknowledge something important. You might be thinking, but what if I genuinely don't enjoy socializing anymore? That's completely valid. The key is finding the type and amount of connection that works for you. Maybe large gatherings aren't your thing, but a weekly coffee with 1 close friend is perfect. Independence isn't about doing everything. It's about having the ability to choose what you want to do. Now, these first 2 habits, avoiding physical challenges and isolating yourself, might seem unrelated, but they actually work together in an unfortunate cycle. When we move less, we often see people less. And when we see people less, we move even less. Breaking just one of these patterns can start to reverse the whole trend. In the next part, we'll explore that third crucial habit, one that might surprise you, because it's something most of us do with the best of intentions. It's about how we think and talk about ourselves as we age, and why changing this one thing could be the most powerful step toward maintaining your independence. Now, let's talk about that third habit that's quietly undermining your independence. And this one might surprise you because it starts in your mind before it ever affects your body. It's telling yourself, "I'm too old for this." How many times have you heard yourself say some version of that phrase? Maybe when your grandkids want to play on the floor with you, or when a friend suggested trying that new restaurant across town, or even when looking at your favorite pair of shoes that now seem too young for you. Here's the hard truth. Every time we say, I'm too old for this, we're not just declining an activity. We're reinforcing a limiting belief that gradually shrinks our world. I'll never forget my Aunt Rose, who at 78 declared she was too old to travel. Within 2 years, she'd stopped driving beyond her neighborhood, then stopped going out in bad weather, then basically became housebound, all because of that initial decision. But here's what's fascinating. Her friend Ethel, the same age, just returned from a river cruise in Europe. The difference wasn't their physical ability. It was their mindset about what was possible at their age. This brings me to an important realization. Independence isn't just about what you can physically do. It's about maintaining what psychologists call self-efficacy, that belief in your ability to handle life's challenges. When we constantly tell ourselves we're too old for things, we erode that belief little by little until we genuinely can't do things we might otherwise still be capable of. So how do we break this cycle? Start by paying attention to your language, both what you say out loud and that internal dialogue in your head. Every time you catch yourself thinking, I'm too old for this, pause and ask, is this actually true or just a habit of thought? Could you maybe try a modified version of the activity? My friend Carl, at 82, thought he was too old to learn technology until his grandson showed him how to video call. Now he visits with his great-grandchildren weekly, and that simple connection has motivated him to stay more active in other areas of his life too. The second strategy is to create what I call small wins. Choose one thing you've been avoiding because of age and find a way to make it manageable. Love gardening but think you can't kneel anymore? Try raised garden beds or a sturdy kneeler seat. Miss traveling but worry about the physical demands? Start with a short trip, close to home with plenty of rest built in. These small victories rebuild your confidence in your capabilities. Now, I want to address something really important before we move forward. Some of you might be thinking, but I really can't do certain things anymore. Isn't it realistic to accept that? Absolutely. This isn't about denying real limitations or pushing yourself to the point of injury. It's about not letting I'm too old become a default response before you've even considered the possibilities. There's a big difference between saying, I've decided not to ski anymore because my knees can't take it, and I'm too old to try anything adventurous. This brings us to an essential truth. Maintaining independence after 60 isn't about doing everything exactly as you did at 40. It's about creatively adapting so you can keep doing what matters most to you. My neighbor Grace gave up running at 65, but took up swimming. At 78, she's still doing laps 3 times a week. Another friend traded his sports car for a comfortable sedan, but still takes long road trips. The common thread? They found ways to preserve the essence of what they loved in forms that work for their current abilities. What's beautiful about addressing these 3 habits together is how they reinforce each other. When you challenge your physical limits in healthy ways, you feel more confident socially. When you maintain social connections, you get encouragement to stay active. And when you ditch the I'm too old mindset, you open yourself to both physical and social opportunities you might have otherwise missed. As we look ahead to the final part of our discussion, we'll explore practical strategies to replace these independence-stealing habits with positive alternatives, including how to create your personal independence plan, simple ways to track your progress, and how to enlist support without sacrificing autonomy. Because here's what I want you to remember. Every small step you take today is an investment in your ability to live life on your terms tomorrow. You know what I've realized? Staying independent after 60 isn't about fighting aging. It's about working smarter with the changes. We've talked about those 3 sneaky habits that can slowly take away our freedom without us noticing, dodging physical challenges, pulling away from people, and that automatic, I'm too old voice in our heads. Now let's flip the script and talk about how to stay in the driver's seat of your own life. First things first, let's make a simple independence plan. Not anything fancy. Just think about, what daily things do I absolutely want to keep doing for myself? Maybe it's making your own breakfast, tending your garden, or driving to the library. Then ask, what's one small way I can protect that ability? For my neighbor Ed, it was doing finger stretches every morning, so he could keep opening jars himself. Little things add up. Here's a trick that works wonders. Keep track of your wins. not with some complicated journal. Just mentally note one thing each day where you chose independence. Yesterday, my friend Irene proudly told me her win was carrying her own grocery bag from the car instead of waiting for help. Last week, it was calling her granddaughter instead of waiting to be called. These I did it myself moments build confidence like nothing else. Now about asking for help. Here's the key. Be the boss of your help. Need assistance with tech? Instead of saying, do it for me, try show me how to do it myself next time. Let your kids drive you to the store rather than having them shop for you. That way you stay in charge. My aunt taught me this. She's 85 and still runs her household because she delegates smartly instead of handing over control. We got to rethink what independence really means. It's not stubbornly doing everything alone. That's just pride. True independence is choosing how you live. Even if that means using a walker to go where you want or ordering groceries online to save energy for things you love. Adaptation isn't surrender, it's strategy. Here's what I want you to try today. Pick just one small thing you've been avoiding and tweak it. Too stiff to garden on the ground? Try a raised planter box. Nervous about going out? Invite one friend over for tea instead. Celebrate every tiny victory. That time you took the stairs, when you tried that new app, when you said yes to something new. These are the moments that keep your independence muscle strong. I'd love to hear, which of these habits have you noticed in yourself? What's one small change you'll make this week? Drop a comment below. Your experience could inspire someone else. If this resonated with you, hit that like button. It helps others find this conversation. And subscribe for more real talk about thriving after 60. Remember what my grandma always said, growing older is mandatory, but growing helpless is optional. Here's to living life on your terms. P.S. When in doubt, repeat this. I adapt, but I don't give up. Because while aging changes how we do things, it doesn't have to stop us from doing what matters. Now go show the world what independent looks like at your age.